Welcome back. So it started off with an understandable issue. We had a professor whose beloved pet was dying and unfortunately eventually died, and she or he, we don't know exactly who this professor was, chose to cancel the class or one of their classes to spend a little extra time with her pet as he was dying. Again, we don't know the gender of the pet either. Which seemed like a totally understandable situation until you read the second part. It turned out that this professor had denied one of her students the same privilege of taking a day off when her grandfather died. So the same kind of situation, you know, a beloved family member, unfortunately passing away, but the professor was allowed to take the day off, whereas the student was not. So selectively applying this rule, which I have to agree did feel a little unfair.
Yeah. I would agree too.
But as a pet owner, I did immediately connect with the first part of this article. So do you have any pets? Have you ever had any pets, John? Would you agree a pet is a family member?
Yeah, I definitely get what you mean. I also connected with the first part, but maybe unlike you, I connected with the second too. You're like, I've got pets, I've got grandpas, but
haven't died yet.
So I wouldn't know. Yeah, no, as a joke. But yeah, I've had pets before, and I will have a pet soon. And absolutely 100% they are a family member. And just like a family member, you should not be throwing away a pet just based on your own feelings about them at the time. And just like a family member, you should not stop taking care of them just because you don't want to or it feels like a burden. This is, of course, my personal opinion, but it's also fact, and you should never do that. Yeah, they are family members, and they're very dear and near, and they can have a tremendous impact on someone's life, to the point where sometimes the impact can be larger than their own family, since sometimes people's own families do decide to abandon them. So pets seem to have a deeper connection with us, and therefore we can also feel a lot more sad when they do inevitably or unfortunately pass away. You know what? You want to know interesting fact that I learned not too long ago? If you have a parrot, especially I believe it's an African gray parrot, maybe, they have to be in your will.
Wait,
because they can live for over 20-something years. If you have one, they have to be placed in your will, since they often outlive, or not often, but enough outlive their original owners that they need a way to be passed on without being abandoned.
I've heard this, yeah, and the longest lived parrot, it's over 70 years.
Yes.
They are extremely long-lived.
Yeah.
So you have to be a responsible parrot owner and provide for them after your own death.
Yeah, that's one of the few pets that could outlive their owners.
I wonder if the same applies to tortoises.
Well, it's funny you say that. There is a gentleman in Japan who has raised a tortoise for many, many decades. And the tortoise is big enough for someone to ride on. Not an adult, but a child. And the owner now has a very big worry, because they are 70-something years old, and they think, I'm not long for this world, but this tortoise could be, could see my son into the old age. They don't have a son, but someone my son's age into their old age as well. So they are quite worried about the future of their tortoise. Yes.
Some things to consider when choosing a pet to purchase. Think about how long it might live. It might be longer than you think.
It might be longer than you think.
And I wonder how the parrots and the giant tortoises of this world deal with their grief when their original owner, who they've spent their whole lives with, die before them.
Wow.
How do you give closure to a parrot?
Yeah, that is a very good question. I didn't even want to think about that.
Well, anyway, let's move on to the other issue in this article. Cancelling classes. I think something that I was really confused by is the fact is the students have to get permission to miss a class.
I don't understand.
And the
that.
rule was something that you're allowed to have 1 day for the funeral and 2 days before it.
Yeah.
But I never experienced this in the UK. No. If we didn't go to class, then it was our own stupid fault. You know, we're customers, we've paid for this education.
Correct.
And if we're going to waste it, then that's up to us.
It's like buying a computer and then Apple making you use it every day. It's like, wait, no, it's my computer. I get to use it or not if I want to.
Yeah.
And if I decide to throw it on the ground, I throw it on the ground and break it. Yeah, I don't get that. I get why the professors can't. It's harder for the professors to get days off because they are providing a service that customers paid for. But students should be able to come and go as they please. And if they fail the class, they fail. I don't get why that's such a hard concept. But it's just not the way things were done, I guess, here.
Yes, interesting.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the details.
Yes. Is this common? You guys probably know. Is this a common practice at all universities? Is this just the Sky universities? I don't know. But yeah, from the other way around, I understand it. Yes, it's more controversial when the teachers and professors cancel. So has your university ever cancelled classes? What was the reason? How did it go down? What was the experience like?
Well, professors have a lot more prerogative in the U.S. And so if there is a cancellation of class, of course, the university doesn't want them to do it too much, but they can do it at their discretion once in a while. However, there was one memorable day of class canceling when it got down to -50 or below in my town. It was a hole in some cloud layer or whatever, and it was pulling down the super chilled air from the very high up and dumping it right on our city. And it was so insanely windy and cold that they said, do not exit your houses, stay home, everything's canceled. Life is canceled. Yeah.
Day off.
Yeah, so that was a good day.
Kind of fun, yes. If it doesn't happen too often, it's not a problem. I think, again, in England, with any job, there's a minimum mandated amount of sick days. So I assume that applies to professors as well. I think it's something like 5 days a year. So yeah, it did happen on occasion. That wasn't a surprise or a problem. Yes. We get sick sometimes. That's okay.
Even us.
Even your robo-teacher. Anyway, let's teach ourselves some vocabulary. Let's be our own teachers this time. And we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Grief.
Grief.
Pupil.
Pupil.
Prerogative.
Prerogative.
Reiterate.
Reiterate.
Closure.
Closure.